Role reversal today. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing the fabulous Dawn Denton on the Business Blitz Facebook page. Dawn, this is
And
amazing. I can't believe I get to do this with you. So now I've been thinking, like, what are the most embarrassing questions that I can ask you live on Facebook? But I decided I wouldn't do that. I'd rather pick your brain. So let's start first. Do you want to just tell us who you are?
yeah, well, so I've always struggled to say what I do. Like when I'm at a party or something and someone says, "Oh, so what do you do?" I'm like, I don't actually know how to answer that. So I've kind of decided that I'm an entrepreneur now. So there's a few things that come together and they don't all fit together necessarily. So I do writing and I do speaking and I do training. And yeah, I've just gathered information over the last, I'd say, 10 years of learning about business and especially online and digital business. So in that sense, I'm kind of, I don't know, maybe like an all-rounder. I
A
feel like a cricket,
multi-potentialite.
maybe
You're
a multi-potentialite.
definitely. So for those of you who are watching and have no clue what a multi-potentialite is, I will break it down for you. Because when I tell people I'm a multi-potentialite and they go, what the hell is that? I say, we, Dawn and Hayley, are able to do a whole lot of things at the same time really well. And I think that sums you up perfectly because you do a lot of things really well. An interesting one for me is it was on either TikTok or Facebook. I saw this post that we've grown up when people ask us what we do, we've grown up saying, oh, I have a small business doing business coaching. I have a small business for me making clothes. And she said, we should stop saying small because as soon as you say small, obviously people picture it like this. And we should rather flip it and say, we have a growing business.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
So I'd like to gift that to you so that at your next dinner party, when somebody asks you what you do, just say, oh, I've got this fabulous growing business. Uh,
I'm going to make a note.
Did you like that one? Yeah, I thought you'd like that one. So, Dawn, you grew up in South Africa, which is my home country. I'm still here. You've been in the UK for how long?
At the end of January, it'll be 29 years.
29 years. Okay, so give us a quick synopsis of why, how, and what. You went,
Yeah, so I left South Africa after I graduated. So our academic year goes from January to December, and not like in the Northern Hemisphere where it's July to, August or whatever. So I finished teachers training and decided to go traveling for 2 years. So I packed my bags and left in January 1995, and with a backpack, a boyfriend, and really big dreams. And it so happened that the boyfriend was a bit useless. The backpack fell to pieces, and the dreams have got bigger. That's what I feel about the last 29 years. And I just went back, I just went traveling. That was my goal. And I was going to make some pounds and then go back to South Africa. But the longer you're away, it ends up being more difficult to go home because I settled into a lifestyle. And I also think that once you buy the gym membership, you kind of are now home, you see. So I am I and that yeah, so I just stayed in the UK and I was a teacher. So I did some teaching and worked in pubs and sold pots and pans door to door. And I sold eggs and potatoes and Coca-Cola in big 2 liters door to door for people who didn't have cars to go to the shops. And then I got tired of teaching, so I went into tourism, and I just found an advert to be a tour guide in Europe for Contiki holidays. And so I did that, and then I went back into teaching and taught travel and tourism at A level. And then I think I got to the point where I was really focused on getting back into tourism because I got frustrated with the education system. And I ended up doing tours in the Balkans and working on cruise ships and in Russia. And I worked at the London Olympics, which was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And then I finished my second degree in international relations and diplomacy. And then with the pandemic, I was about to go back into tourism after being at home to finish my degree. And of course, bam, there was no tourism. People weren't interested. So I spent the pandemic writing a lot more than I ever have. And I completed my book in tour, how to be a tour guide. And yeah, coming out of the pandemic now with a dog, and I can't really go traveling very much. So my partner, my other half, he goes traveling as a tour guide, and I stay at home with the dog. And that is a very brief overview of what I've done for the past 29 years.
Well, I was gifted one of your tour guide books. It was so amazing. You sent it over with somebody, and her sister came to deliver it to me, and it was such a wonderful thing to actually hold it, because I've done your book writing course. So I want to touch on that, because that was really enlightening for me. So I've had a book in me for the last 20 years, and it's that thing of actually just doing it. The whole imposter syndrome, and am I good enough, and who's going to buy my book? But when you join, and that's what I love so much about the internet, because that's how I met you, is on the internet via LinkedIn. And then I end up in a book writing course with you, and I watch you put it into practice in real time. And I think that's the thing that I admire so much about you and about sharing space with you, is that you are able to teach in such a simplified, easy way that you don't make me feel stupid, which is a huge one, because for us older chickie boos, and I'm sure the guys as well, it's a different world. We didn't grow up with it. So watching you do it and having you take us through it all was just, for me, it was a really amazing experience. And also then the people that you get to meet and the people that you get to see. And so tell me a little bit about how you waxed, because I still, like, I did that session with you where you showed us how to publish on Amazon. And if we all actually just attended, like, you should run that once a month. You should do a paid Zoom once a month, and anybody who wants to write a book should just come and do that, because that was incredible. But how did you figure that out? What took you there to figure that out? Because it's a biggie. That was a biggie for me.
It's interesting because, and I think you do the same thing, Hayley, is you scroll through social media and you find people who inspire you, and then you sign up to their email, or you start following what they have to say, and if they're experts in a field, which is why I know a lot of people don't like marketing on social media. They hate those adverts, but actually, when you engage with those things that interest you, you see more of those things that interest you. And that's what I like. I don't want to see about, I don't know, horse racing or, playing golf, and that's not my interest. I like to see things pop up in my feed about writing. And I'm the same, I think, with everyone, really, is that I've always enjoyed writing, but I've always felt a little bit impostery syndrome-y. And I followed a few writers in the early, I'd say, coming out of 2010, the first 2 or 3 years of the new decade. And I decided that I was going to take all the information I'd learned about social media, and I was going to put it into a PDF. And that was going to be something I would just send to people just because. And then somehow I ended up at an Amazon conference in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was for physical products. And so we've been twice, which has been amazing. And we did that. And one of the things that I realized is that, yes, if you sell a physical product, you have to make it, you have to create it, you have to buy it, you have to import it, or you have to, so there's something that you have to do with everything. And the more items you sell, the more money you make. But with a digital product, or like a book, you do the work once, and you don't have to do it again. You just have to sell it. And so I thought, well, this is really I'm going to try publishing this Facebook book that I had kind of written everything I knew about Facebook at the time. And of course, Facebook has changed since 2010. And so I published that, and I realized how easy it was. And then as I did an Instagram book, and then I found I was repurposing content, did the same thing with repurposing content. And then I got to a point where I realized people were asking me, they were saying, Dawn, how do you do that? It just, that's amazing. And I get quite embarrassed when people say how amazing it is to publish a book, because it is so simple that I actually think I feel embarrassed because I'm like, it's not very hard. You just have to write or even you don't even have to write. You can even just transcribe it, speaking into an app. And then you just have it in a PDF and you go into Amazon, you upload it with a pretty picture for the cover, and it's done. And yeah, it's just I think it's when people ask me, how do you do that? That I thought, well, let me run a course. And I've done the course, I think, twice now. So yeah, this year will be the third time.
It's a very good course. That's all I can say. To whoever's watching this, it is a really good course. And if you have a book in you, you need to actually
Everyone
attend.
has a book in them. Everybody does.
True.
And the thing is, if you've got experience in doing something, or you've been through a journey, maybe it's a life-changing journey for good or for bad, or you've come out the other side, that is a story that someone else can learn from. And I think even if you aren't a writer, it's an opportunity to share that with the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the world that we're living in now, I've started developing something that actually has kind of been birthed out of what the original idea was. And at first I had that thing of like, is this English PC correct? Is this? And then I actually decided, I'm just going to write it my way. Whether it's correct or it isn't correct, it's not going to be, oh my word, this girl doesn't know how to write English. But it's that thing of just doing it your way. Because I think if we start copying and we start trying to be somebody else, it's apparent that you're trying to be somebody else. Whereas if you just do your own thing, but also when you're trying to be somebody else, you'll never publish because you're so busy striving for perfection. And I think that's something that you also came to understand in your journey of writing, that just get it done.
And there are experts who can help you with all of that stuff, but the content is yours and it's your personal journey, it's your experience. But you can always hand it over to an editor to say, can you fix up my verbs? Because I don't know what that all means, or I don't even know how to do that. And that's a really refreshing way to think of it. You don't have to be the writer, you don't have to be the famous, whoever the world's most famous writer is. It doesn't matter. It's your story, your information, your journey, your experience is what's important. And there's experts who can help you with that along the way.
Yeah. And also a very important thing, which I know you get 100%, is that for so long, we were under the impression that it all had to be perfect before you published it. Now the speak is just put it out there and run beta testing on it and first see what you get back, because otherwise you're going to spend all this time, all this money, potentially putting out something that nobody likes. Whereas if you beta test it, which you know that because you now can take your tour guiding book, and if you pick something up that somebody said, you can just go, are you able to go in and re-edit?
Yeah, as long as you don't change too much. So like if you change a lot, then they'll ask you to do the second edition.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But if you're going to change, spelling error or, spacing maybe, or, that's fine to do. I go in and change it all the time. But the thing with the guiding is actually what's really interesting is that people have contacted me for me to now, from my book, to go in and deliver the training.
Yes.
So it's a great business card. If you don't even have to sell the book. There's different ways that you can use the book just as a freebie to help people see more about you and maybe learn about what you can offer them. And it's the same with the goal setting book. I was just asked to deliver a training session at Christmas time for our local council for small businesses. And I said, well, what do you want me to do? Because social media is always interesting and people always come to that. But I've kind of grown out of the social media. I don't really want to be known as a social media person anymore. So for me, the goal setting, I said, well, let me just do a PowerPoint really presentation on goal setting, little mini workshop. And everybody really enjoyed it. And I thought, well, I'm not a goal setting expert, but I can put information together from each of those slides, which I wrote up, gave an activity for each chapter, and now I have a goal setting book. You see, so there's loads of things. I bet that people sit with content on their laptops, like they've either done, something at work or they've done some research, and they can publish that. Even people who are at university and maybe done a PhD or they've done a research project, all of those things can be published and someone else can benefit from it.
Yeah, there's so much in that. Okay, so then Business Blitz, what is that all about? Because this is new and exciting.
Well, having learned all this stuff over the last, I don't know how many years, it's about 10 now. Just from attending loads of things like the conferences in Vegas and connecting with people who are incredibly skilled in their area. And I think sometimes watching other people do things and go, yeah, they need to talk to me because I can help them with that. Or watching someone do something and think, oh, that's a really good idea, trying it out and it works. So I've decided to put all that stuff together because there are lots of people who desperately want support. They might have started something small. They might have decided that they want to now take their hobby in the next level, or they're stuck. There's a word. They're stuck at a point where nothing's happening, nothing's growing, and they don't quite know. And I also watch small business owners spend so much time on social media where it's not actually benefiting them. So either they need to spend it more productively, or they need to reconsider where they are spending it, because it gets overwhelming. You make something, so you have to spend time doing that, but then everyone tells you have to be on every platform and it becomes really overwhelming. So I also thought I've got to a point where I know there's a lot of information available free in the world, but I also know that when people pay for something, they appreciate it. And why should I not charge for what I do and what I know and my experience? And so the Business Blitz really is it's £50 a year. So it's less than £1 a week, and you get an email every week. And in the email, I give you resources, I give you support, I teach you new things, I give you something to think about. And I think it's an opportunity really to think about how you can use that stuff in your daily life and in your business to grow as a person and as a business.
Yeah, and you become an accountability partner in a sense, because there's a real person. We can all go and buy courses that you download and you just go through reams and reams and reams of stuff. You can print it out, you can sit and scroll on your laptop or your phone or whatever. But the problem with that is, and it happens to me all the time, so I will click on a link, I'll go in, and then something will pop up on the right hand side, and I'll be like, oh, that it's all those shiny objects. Whereas when you have one thing and you also trust, it is the trust. Like, I will always open an email from you and I'll always be interested to read what you sent, because I know it's trustworthy. And that's a big one today, because there's so much out there trying to get $5,000 from you and $20,000 from you. So when you come with £50 for the year, then it's realistic. Like, I'm happy to pay that because I know that I'm getting bite size. It's not overwhelming. You're not overwhelming me. And I think there is a lot of space for the dawns of the world, because there's a lot of the other biggie stuff it's just too overwhelming. And also, Dawn, you know what, when you get into your year, we all buy courses in December because we're on leave and everything's fabulous. But when you get into your year and you've spent all this money on a course and you've got it in the back of your mind that, like, you're so far behind and you haven't, it's also, your stuff is nice because you can just keep revisiting it. And I like that. I like the format and the ease of the format.
Yeah, so Substack, for anyone who has maybe not heard about Substack, it's basically a blogging site. So if you are signed up, and you're a paid member, you have access to the paid content. So I can send free content to people because I have people who have subscribed on the free. So they get the first email of the month is free for everybody. And then I do teasers. So on the second, third, and fourth, or maybe the fifth, depending on the month, they get the first couple of paragraphs of the email as the free ones. And then you can put in a breaking point, like a paywall. And anything below that paywall, it comes up saying, if you want to, the rest of this content is, it costs money. I also think that during the pandemic, too many people did give away too much stuff. and now the world expects it. And I think we need to have more respect for people who are knowledgeable, experienced in their fields, because when we all start paying for things that are of value, then everyone will again. And we have to just shift the culture. But also income stream, I just think that putting loads of eggs into one basket makes us more vulnerable. And we know the pandemic taught us that. So if we can find little other ways to get an income stream, whether it's getting speaking gigs, or whether it's writing a book, whether it's having a paid Substack, maybe creating a physical product if you have a service that you deliver. So maybe you're a coach and you help people with anxiety, maybe creating I don't know, some kind of calendar, or just being a bit creative to just increase the opportunities to get income from multiple directions, which I think also is good for the soul.
Yeah, I must say, I watch the Americans do it. The Americans do it very well. They are really super smart at multiple income streams. And listen, I mean, 2024 is the year of the creator economy. It is massive what's coming. So there's huge layoffs coming to the world. Google just laid off 30,000 people. Where are all those people going to go? They are going to fall into TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and they are going to start producing content so that they can earn an income off it. They also come out of quite a knowledgeable background. So you're well poised ahead of the game, because they first got to start producing, whereas you've already been producing. And yeah, the creator economy is a huge one. So for anybody who's also sitting with stuff and keeps thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, or I can't, or like, they just need to get into your space, and they'll soon find out that it's actually really easy when you know how. I always say, I've got a famous line: I am enormously tech challenged until I get it. And then when I get it, I'm a complete wizard.
Yeah.
And it's that thing. So if you've got the like, I've got you in my camp. I've got my hubby who's he's very methodical, and he works things out I'm too quick. I want everything instant gratification. If I don't get it, I'm like, this is stupid, and it doesn't work for me. But like, having you and what you offering there, and being able to click on resources, and that, it's amazing how much confidence that builds. And that's interesting for you, because maybe when you set out to start it, you didn't quite aim it in that direction. But as you bring more and more people on who are going to realize that with the little bit of knowledge that you're teaching them, they can actually set the world on fire. And that's big. Like, that's a big one. So before you answer that, in a year's time, when you go to a dinner party and somebody asks what you do, just turn around and say, I help people set the world on fire. Not literally.
I'm going to write that one down as well.
I think we better find a better way of saying it, though, because
yeah, because that could be But I also think it's true about, you say, the know, like, and trust, but also it reduces overwhelm, because if you are stuck and you think, oh, I need to learn how to do that, or do I need to learn how to do that? Because there's things that you think you need to know, which you probably don't. There's things that the world tells you got to know, and it's not necessarily relevant to you. Or there's things you don't even know are quite important and could have a massive impact on what you do and how you generate an income or grow an audience. So I think it also reduces the overwhelm that you have to now find 20,000 people to help you. It's one space where pretty much everything will be covered. But also, it doesn't mean that you have to now go, oh, I have to implement everything now, because they're spaced out as well. So every week, there's something for you to consider, to think about it. Actually, if it's not relevant for you, then you can come back to it, because it stays there. So every time you go to your Substack and you log in, every email that you've received from me is like a blog. So it's all there, and you can go back and say, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Let me have a look at that. So you might then be ready for that in 2 months' time, when you are now in a different space.
Okay, so can you please do a course on Substack?
Okay.
Can you just give us a 1 to 10 how to do it, please?
Absolutely. I'll make a note of that as well.
Yeah, please. But I want to revisit something that you said about thinking that you have to be everywhere, and then being nowhere because you don't know where to start. And it's something I learned way back when I first got into the whole social media thing. And I think it's also an important conversation in closed spaces like your paid closed space where you can have those kind of conversations, that you don't necessarily have to you don't have to be everywhere. But more importantly, being everywhere requires you to have a different voice, because the voice you share on LinkedIn and the voice you share on Facebook are two different voices. And one of the biggest mistakes that young entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs who are just trying to get their vision and their product and they're out there, one of the biggest mistakes they make is that they throw one video across all the platforms, and then they get crickets, and then they don't understand why. And I think that's what they're going to learn with you as well, is that it's very important, especially now, to remember that every platform has a different voice. And what's interesting for me, what's interesting is somebody actually described it so brilliantly for me. They said, Facebook is your happy place. Instagram is living my best life on social media, but actually I'm a hot mess off it. LinkedIn is all about business, and you need to really understand that being fluffy and woo-woo and all of that on LinkedIn doesn't really land. Like if you are sharing good business-related stuff on LinkedIn, that works. And TikTok is the new shiny object. But TikTok is, it's not Instagram. You don't have to look beautiful. You don't have to have a perfect background. You can just get online and start talking. There are people making big money on TikTok, literally just talking about and sharing. So I think that's also a nice one for you, because that's what you're doing, is that you're sharing all of that in bite sizes, in real speak, not in this whole woo-woo thing. And it's important, because I know that I get it a lot from people in my space, that they just, I hate social media. Why? Why do you hate social media? It is the most brilliant free tool that you have ever in the history of mankind. You hate it because you don't understand it, and you hate it because you fear it. And I think if they can get on board with you and you can take them through, I think they'll start to see it from a very different perspective.
Thank you, Hayley. I also just think, LinkedIn is one of the, I mean, Gary V, we both love Gary V, and he's been talking about LinkedIn is one of the best places to be focusing attention now. And what I think people get confused with LinkedIn is it's not a place to sell your product, it's a place to show your expertise.
Yeah. Big difference.
And if you frame it like that, when you think about, I'm going to post the same content from Facebook, maybe in Facebook I'm going to sell a yoga mat, and that's great. People go, oh, I love that yoga mat, I'll click on the link and I'll buy it. But on LinkedIn, you don't sell the yoga mat. What you do is you show the value or power of why yoga is important, and why you are the different expert, and why people should invest in what you have to offer. And so it's just about reframing the way you see each of those the way that the audience behaves and how you think when you post that. It can be the same content, but it's differently framed. It's a different voice. Okay, you've got to be authentic, but you can't talk, yay, mate, yo, how's it going, when you're on LinkedIn, but you can do that on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is actually the fundamental secret, is when you understand the voice you need to use on each platform, then it's a no-brainer. So I'm sorry if you can hear a lot of noise in the background, but we have great fun. Okay, I'm glad you can't, because there's mayhem going on outside.
No, it could be, no, can't hear a thing. It's brilliant.
Good. Okay, well, Dawnie, I think I've picked your brain on everything that I wanted to. Other than, I do think that you should start a TikTok space sharing all your crafty stuff that you do, because I think it's such fun. And your South African recipes that your breads that you bake, and that's, I mean, if we're talking about it, that's the kind of stuff, like on TikTok, is just to take. I have learned more on TikTok than I've learned anywhere else. And the best part about it is I'm actually doing it. I've just created my first cactus. I watched this girl break off all the leaves, take a piece of thread, stick it through all the leaves, and create like a a wind chime, a cactus wind chime, and I'm waiting for the little flowers to also, you spray it every day with water, and then I'm waiting. I don't know if it'll work, but I learned that on TikTok, and that's what I'm saying is like I loved doing it. I sat with my needle. I first had to go and find a needle at home. I found the needle, got very excited. Then I found the thread, got even more excited. And then I needed something to put at the bottom. So I went digging and I found a bead. What that does, and that's something that you and I both know, is that it takes your mind off the humdrum of life and whatever, and it takes you into a different space. Now, if you are sharing something that you know with others, and they have the moment I had with this lady on TikTok and the cat, I mean, the world will be a better place for it. So there's so much to share about taking yourself through the whole social media scene and understanding it and really getting off the treadmill of it's
Yeah,
evil.
but it's also like you say, sharing it with other people, because I often share what I've made, and often I've learned that on social media as well, or I've seen someone do it. And they often say, "Oh, how do you do that?" I'm like, "It's so easy." And they go, "It looks so difficult." And it's like you
Yeah,
say, as soon as you know what it's about,
yeah,
and how to do it, it's really easy, like anything. And I make a conscious effort of spending time in the kitchen, making things. I'm a big recycler, so I quite like looking at, I've got these pretty bottles, what can I do with them? Oh, let me paint them, or I haven't done macrame for years. Oh, I'd love to do macrame again. I did it in primary school, so buying macrame stuff. I mean, the other day I found my late mother's box where she made jewelry, and so I've gone and bought another jewelry kit. And so I'm going to start making some, the odd pieces and earrings and things that I can give to friends for birthday presents. I don't have the confidence to sell it because I don't think I'm not, but maybe that's my imposter syndrome stuff. But I do love making things, and it's my way to unwind. And also, we are all creative. Human beings are creative, but we need to give ourselves the opportunity to be creative, because it's
yeah.
good for the mind, good for the soul. And we realize when we start making things, it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be, I mean, I'm weaving with plastic at the moment, and I'm giving it to people to put their pot plants on, so it doesn't mess their tables or whatever. But I'm helping the planet. I'm enjoying it. Gives me something to do when I'm sitting in front of the TV. And I've got presents. So every time I go to a meeting, even if I've never met someone, I have them give them a present.
I
I'm
love
like,
it. You
I've got a
see,
drawer full of these things. I don't know what to do with them. I don't know who you are, but I'm having a meeting with you about a bridge in a village, but I'm happy to give you this present.
I love it. But you know what? You just touched on something so important, because I always say that when you sharing somebody, it doesn't always have to be shared for money.
Yeah.
It can, if you just share somebody and they go on and somebody says, the first thing people ask, and I've always said this, is that people don't say, "Oh, that's amazing." The first thing people do ask is, "How did you know? How do you know about it? Who did you hear it from?"
Yeah.
When they say, "Oh, this lady Dawn Denton, she's got this business blitz," that's all you need. That's all you need, because that's the scattering of the seeds. That's the cross pollination. And I love that, because that's what's happening when you're giving that recycled plastic mat that somebody's going to put their pot plant. Somebody's going to come and go, "Oh, that's such a clever idea. Where did you get it?" And then they're going to say, "Oh, there's this lady, Dawn. She came and did a talk for her company, Business Blitz." That's the cross pollination. And if we can all get into that zone of understanding how simple that actually is, how we can germinate each other, that's a whole other conversation, which we are going to have, because there's a lot in that.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it also shows people the person you are, and you're not just a brand or a logo. You're a person, you have a family, you have friends, you do things outside of work, and it makes you more what's the word? Not authentic, but people can communicate with you because they can see you,
Approachable.
yeah,
Yeah.
approachable. They can see you they can see themselves in who you are. And then it also helps with every area of your life, which I think is lovely.
I
So
mean, I am not a great cook at all. I can cook. I probably am a great cook. It's just not my favorite thing to do. However, I then found all this amazingness on TikTok. So of course I had to start trying it. I mean, all these air fryer recipes and everything. And what is so funny is, and we really giggle, my friends and I, that I send the photos to. And I am going to start sharing it because I watch them make this amazing tortilla taco thing, and it looks beautiful, and they whip it all together in the videos or whatever, and then they've got one of those taco stands, and they like whip it out and they put it in there. I dish mine, and I promise you, they are the ugliest things you have ever seen. They taste incredible, but they are so ugly to look at. Now, in the good old days of living your best life on Instagram, I would never ever have even thought about sharing that because I would have been so embarrassed. Now, I'm actually going to create a whole I'm going to create a whole world for myself of Hayley who cooks the ugliest food that tastes amazing, something along those lines, because
Yeah.
that's the thing. And that's what we can also take. And that's what you're doing as well, is that, and I love that about you, Dawn, is that you are just doing Dawn authentically. And you make a whole group of people feel like they can do themselves authentically.
Oh, thank you, Hayley.
And that's it. That's it in a nutshell, because that's where the world is going now. We want to watch people, we want to watch them paint a glass bottle, and then we want to go out and we want to do that ourselves. And if it's ugly and it looks terrible, it doesn't matter because somebody will love it.
Well, I love it. Oh, Hayley, thank you. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
it's my pleasure. It was so nice to be on the other side, picking your brain for a change, and finding out a little bit more about you. So I hope that whoever is in the Business Blitz will now understand what you really do. And if you need her verified, you can just reach out to me and I'll verify her. I've known her for a while and I've done many, many hours online.
Oh, yeah, many, many, many.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of fun. Yep, I had that to thank the pandemic for, because I don't think I would have met you, because I never used to go onto LinkedIn because I was always too busy. And then I had time and I discovered you.
Yay!
Yay.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Hayley.
Tony.
Thank you.